So, welcome to the Vision to Success Digital Marketing Workshops. These are free, regular marketing workshops that are designed to help you take your vision and realize it into a successful business. The overall structure for the next hour will be a short introduction as to who we are and what Vision to Success is all about. We then got quite a meaty educational presentation this morning on email marketing. I found it really difficult to chop stuff out, so probably might be limited for chat at the end. But if you do have any questions, please use chat. And I've got it on the right-hand side here so that I can pick anything up. Rachel will be pushing through any messages that come through on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. And so hopefully, if you're not in the Zoom room, I think Rachel normally puts the link into LinkedIn as well. So if you do want to join the Zoom itself, you're welcome to do so. There's no limit on the people we have in the room. We'll be at the end. There'll be plenty of time. There'll be time for questions on either email or digital marketing in general. Please free to ask them, and then hopefully we'll get a chance to go around the room for those who've got the video on to what actions you're going to do from today's meeting, because that's always useful to try and embed what we've talked about. So why email marketing? Well, it's there to it's still very effective. You just have to bear in mind quite a few more things to take into account. Well, first of all, we'll do a quick intro. For those new to me, Peter Dickinson. I've been working with over 500 companies over the last 20 years. We've run as an agency for the last 6 years because I got fed up of telling people how to do things and then coming back the following month and they've not done them. So now we have the ability to do it for you as well. So we coach, train, manage, and deliver. I've been working technology since 1984 and very close to the 30,000 limit on connections on LinkedIn. So been around there, done it, shrunk the t-shirt quite a few times, and we now run a very successful agency based on the education that the tools and things we're going to talk through today. So a bit of housekeeping, so running speaker view during the presentation and then gallery view during the interactive sessions. Use mute when not talking. We've got a fairly small number in the house today, and then we've got people viewing in. So please just raise your hands to contribute. Please ask through chat, and keep your video on if you can, because it's great to have a chat at the end and talk through your issues and so forth. So why Vision to Success? I mean, we go to quite a bit of effort putting these things on. We've got some really exciting range of speakers after April, so it'll be less about me rabbiting on and more about experts that we're connected with and who we rely on to do various specialist areas, like cyber and brand design and things like that. So we do it to help you compete in the digital world. It is getting more competitive. We are in for a rocky 2 or 3 years with the inflation now increasing. Hopefully Putin and Ukraine can be sorted out fairly quickly, because that's hugely disruptive not only to the poor people of Ukraine but to the rest of the planet, and there'll be knock-on effects for what's happening there for years to come. We're here to solve your digital marketing problems, and we're going to talk about the community we're building to support marketing. So we've got the free Wednesday workshops, 11 till 12. They'll go to bi-weekly after Easter. We've got the book, which I'll talk about in a minute. We do have some online courses. We are implementing an app, so anybody interested in developing a marketing strategy, the second workshop after Easter will be developing your marketing strategy using the app. The app's free, so free forever. There will be a paid-for version which will do the financial modeling as well, which is what we're currently working on. But the main app is live. We obviously do one-to-one coaching. We'll do a digital review of your digital marketing, and then we do the whole shebang of taking you from business strategy right through to implementation. So we've got a range of things to help a range of people. This is a book, 60,000 words of my life, of work I've gone into this. We've got 3 chapters on the overall process. These courses that these workshops we're following are, if you like, chapters from the book. So we're now on chapter 9 from the book. This is available from Amazon. We are hoping to get it printed before the end of the year. We very much believe in sharing knowledge and collaborating and so forth. And LinkedIn's not always the best platform to do that on. So we are the marketing agency that's launching a product for a client called NetHub. NetHub is a free forever platform that is the missing link between a CRM and LinkedIn. So LinkedIn's great because everybody keeps their own data up to date, and they're responsible for their bits. Whereas on the CRM, obviously, you have to do it. But it's like LinkedIn without the clutter. So if you go to Vision to Success, click on the Services tab, and then click on the. In fact, I'll just remember where I put it. And I'll stick this into chat for you. If my mouse will play ball, so put that to everyone, and we'll stick that in there. So if you are interested, this is the NetHub community for Vision to Success, and say it's free, and it's an opportunity for you to mix with like-minded people who are interested in digital marketing. Okay, and we also have a WhatsApp group, so that whilst we do the transition, we'll run the WhatsApp group for this year. And this is where you can again share ideas, questions, and so forth. And Rachel puts a link to the Zoom room in there as well. So please feel free to email Rachel. I think you just sent your message to me, Rachel, rather than to the group. Okay, how to use email marketing to grow your sales. So we're very much a believer that email is still an effective way. It is harder if you're emailing out to consumers because of the GDPR laws, but we'll talk you through that in a minute. And we'll show you how that you can use it as an effective tool to help you retain and grow your customers and grow your sales. So why is it important? Well, I mean, this messaging rule of 7 came out from the film industry in the 1920s, but we strongly believe that the power of 7 is still very effective. So you have social media, so people see the posts online and so forth. Then hopefully they click on the website. Hopefully they find your website via Google. And then what does we covered this a few weeks ago, but Facebook has changed the way, or Apple has changed the way that information can be tracked through apps, and this has really hurt Facebook advertising. What thing you can do is, if somebody lands on and they accept your cookies, if they land on your website, next time they're going back onto Facebook, then the advert will appear in their thing, because they've shown an interest in your website, and that's called remarketing. So there are various technical tricks you can do to alert people and to sort of get your brand appearing in the right places. You can have dedicated landing pages so that when you say got somebody from an Instagram advert, you wouldn't take them to your homepage, you'd take them to a specific page, and it wouldn't have the navigation on and so forth, so that they're not distracted and not going to go off and look around the site. They're just going to focus on that page, and that's called a landing page. And they're designed to convert a visitor to some form of action. whatever action is you need. You can then approach people on directly on LinkedIn, and I've had quite a few people approach me on Instagram as well. And we've talked about social selling previously, and then Facebook groups, less LinkedIn, and I'll probably at some point change that to NetHub when NetHub really takes off. Because Facebook at the moment really is the only groups that really do kind of work. I've not seen a LinkedIn group work very well. And then, of course, email marketing, you're in control of that. You can say when you're going to send messages out, and that's a way of keeping in touch. So what's the purpose of email marketing? Well, it could be just simply to raise awareness, brand awareness, for those companies where they've already got great sales funnels and so forth. So you might send something out for that. If you're a B2B business, if you're a distributor or something like that, then newsletters or promotional letters can be really great. So we've got William here with his wine business. He would be, sort of with opted in and with permission, he would be then sending out the latest wine of the month kind of newsletter. You can use it to drive traffic to events. So we manage obviously all our stuff through email to get you guys looking at it. We also use LinkedIn through the LinkedIn events as well. So hence the live streaming. But it can be used for great things, stock clearance, any kind of sending out coupons or discounts. I use a specialist proteins from a company called MyProtein, and another one which I can't remember the name of. It's not great. And quite often they'll send through a discount, and then that prompts me to buy. You can lift if you've got an e-commerce site, always have an abandoned cart email set up, so that when somebody could get distracted, they want to buy whatever it is they're going to buy. Say they're on William's site, which is wine. They're on the site. They get distracted. They come back and they forget about the purchase. Well, a little email, a few hours later, or maximum 24 hours later, saying, "Hey, you've forgotten your wine order. Do you want to complete?" And that will give you an uplift of about 5 to 7%. So, for the sake of sending an email out for an abandoned cart, it's all there to help. And then obviously reminders. So, for example, you'll have had a reminder hopefully an hour before, and you'll have had a reminder a day before this event. If you are running events, you do need to send reminders. People are busy. People have got busy emails and so forth. And then just working with a software house that are going to launch a piece of software for the recruitment industry, and it's going to be quite a long sale. It's going to be quite a long lead time. So we'll set up a series of emails so that every month, or every week or whatever the client decides, they're going to get sort of another article on, or maybe a link to a video saying, "Hey, have you thought about this? Hey, have you thought about that? Do you think this?" A lot of the time, especially launching new things, we do a lot of launches of high growth companies. I'm not quite sure how we've ended up in that little niche, but it's all about when it's an educational sale, you do need to use email maybe to give them a little course. So again, I'm sorry, William, I'm picking on you here, but you could do a series of once they've signed up and they've opted in, because that might be important with when you're selling to consumers. You might send them a series of emails on how to smell wine, how to judge wine, how to what grapes do what, and so forth. And what it's interesting watching some of the food programs. There was one on Countryfile at the weekend where they were sort of tasting beers with different types of foods. So that would be, you could do a quiz, or you could do sort of an educational series and so forth. So quite a few uses which I don't think everybody is quite aware of. So it's quite spectacular when you watch an email campaign go out, especially a big one. Most of the emails are opened in the first hour. If you're looking at open rates, if you're getting above 18%, yeah, great. Below 18%, you've got some work to do. If you're emailing, so for example, when we email out the reminder for these events, the open rates go up to 50 or 60%, which is what you'd hope, if you're reminding people to come to an event. And 73% of millennials prefer email for business. Although there is messaging, when we've got Slack now for inside our business for messaging, quick messaging between, I've got my phone there, desktop, we've got 3 screens, and, so to identify important messages, then we use WhatsApp for clients and so forth. But sometimes those are great, but sometimes it's more important to stick it on an email, because don't forget, emails are legally binding. So if you say you're going to do something in an email, that's the receiving party can treat that as a legal agreement. So they do hold an importance legally. So a few fundamentals. So email marketing systems, cloud-based systems that let you store email addresses and send newsletters from them. Please, I have seen this recently, but please do not use Outlook for your email marketing. It's not designed to work that way, and you'll get yourself put in a spam box, and very difficult to get back out of it when you are. So example systems, things like MailChimp. We use ActiveCampaign and Sendinblue. We have come across MailerLite. It's not the easiest packages, but it does have quite good open rates. But it does require a technical bent to be able to use it. Constant Contact is an old favourite with quite a few people, and a new up and coming one is Popcorn.email, and there are plenty more. We use, for the Vision to Success, we use Sendinblue, and we've got clients using MailChimp, and a more sophisticated system is ActiveCampaign, which is probably the best, but it's also the most expensive. And then there's a whole bunch of other more expensive ones on top of that. So these are the budget end free and budget end range. Needs to fit into your marketing ecosystem. We use a thing called creately.com. It's free for something of this size. We obviously have the pay for version because we're doing these all the time, but it is worth working out how the customer journey, what is the journey you expect your customers to go on? How is everything linked together? And if you're doing an online shop, it's certainly worth doing this, or if you've got a more sophisticated sell. So for example, the software house, where they're helping them to promote a piece of software, it's a similarly complicated diagram, because you need to think about all the moving parts. We did cover this at the beginning of these workshops. This has become where it's super important, because you need to know what you're going to email, when you're going to email, who you're going to email it to, how you're going to keep them up to date, and so forth. And you've got to make sure you've got content that they're happy to read. So going on to the legal side of things, we've got GDPR, General Data Protection Regulations, and this is to do with the process, not to do anything to do with emailing out. It's to do with the processing of that email. So if you are dealing with consumers, you have no choice. You must get consent to process that data. If you are dealing with businesses, my view, it is slightly controversial, but I've read the regulations. As far as I can see, legitimate interest can be used for processing data for email marketing, because you're not going to impact anybody's privacy. You're not going to impact anything to do with them, and so the risk of any impact is minimal. All they have to do is, if they don't like it, is unsubscribe and delete your email. Who you can send it to is governed by the Privacy and Electronic Communications, and if it's a consumer, they say you must have consent. So you must have consent to process it and must have consent to email to them. If you're using to work address, you can use a soft opt-out, and that's where you have an unsubscribe. Ideally, unsubscribe should be at the top of the email and the bottom of the email. We go back to our friend, the buyer persona. We've talked about this a few times now. It is absolutely super critical that you really, really have a good, clear picture. And if you've got several buyer personas, that's fine. If you're selling to 3 or more, I'd kind of worry that you're not particularly focused on your marketing, and your marketing will be more shotgun rather than rifle shot. You need to be clear on who you're selling to. I'm not going to go through this in detail because we did this last time. The free app now does all have all this in it. So we still have the template which you can download, which is this. Let's say after Easter, we'll be properly promoting we're showing you how to use the Vision to Success app, which will has all this in it with the prompts and things. And I'm just putting together sort of the kind of training that we'll be going through. So you must be able to razor sharp, clear idea of who you're selling to. So we go back to our friend the marketing funnel, which we covered early on in the work series. So you can still buy lists for B2B. Got to be a bit careful with the quality of those lists. And that's this sort of, if you're buying in a list that's completely cold list, then that's definitely awareness. You then need some kind of lead magnet. It's not a phrase I tend to see these days, but basically is how are you going to get them to interact with you? So with a newsletter, it could be education, a series of education emails. We've written ebooks, kind of worked, but not great. We kind of prefer the free training route for any sort of special, sort of services type organization these days. Everybody's saying yes, we're meeting in face to face, but to be honest, for educational stuff, I would say Zoom. And if we now refer back to all the fuel prices and so forth, it doesn't make sense to jump in a car and drive somewhere. We're sat here, we've not had to sort out a room, not had to sort out food, we've not had to sort out, if you trying to get people physically into a place, you've got to then start ringing them up. All of it's pretty inefficient. And that's why I think the LinkedIn live events are becoming more popular. And obviously you don't use email to get people to that, but to get people into a workshop or Zoom and so forth, you're then best using email. If you're selling something, coupons and discount codes are great. The other thing, just be aware of them, because I'd say buy some powders from Protein, Bulk, they're called, and I just now wait for their coupon to come around, but I still buy from them, so they retain my business, but it's not as profitable as before. So just be a bit careful how you use it. I notice initially their discounts are like 20-30%, but sometimes if I wait, I'll get a 45% one, and then I'll buy it in bulk because there's stuff stores. Mortgage people, mortgage calculators, things like that, systems to help. So one of the reasons why I've developed a Vision to Success app, yes, it will be free, there's some big cost to us running it, but then, there'll be those queries and so forth about, oh, how do I do this? How do I do that? Oh, right, okay. You need paid for support. Yes, we're happy to give you support and so forth. So, there may be things you can do there, but developing a piece of software cloud-based software is not trivial, unfortunately, although there are more tools to do that. We talked about abandoned cart for your conversion stuff, and then educational newsletters for retention. And then if you're in any sort of selling to consumers or any sort of distribution business, you'll use offers for that. So some marketing basics. When you're writing an email, you've got to attract their attention. The old AIDA layout, get their attention, develop their interest, develop their desire, and then a call to action. This is very important if you're going to, if you get them to, there's no point just sending an email out if there's no call to action in it. You're wasting everybody's time there. The call to action could be to read an article. The layout, more and more, we're going away from less graphics to more words. I still like to have quite a big button in the middle, a bit like Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. It's sort of, the words don't panic. There's a clear call to action there. So make it clear what you want them to do, but as I say, less is more when it comes to graphics, in my view, in newsletters. Make it, sort of write it as though you were writing to them. And this is where the buyer persona becomes important, because you must write to that buyer persona. If you've got several buyer personas, you must segment your database. They all have different ways of doing it, so we can't go into detail there. I think MailChoose uses tags, Sendinblue uses meta lists, but they all have pretty much the same effect. So when you're building your databases, make sure that everybody in a segment or in a list has the same buying characteristics. Make sure that you put in how you've got their details. Make sure that they can see how to unsubscribe. I put all our contact details in so people can get to us in any way, shape, or form. And it just shows you it's a legitimate email. I'm not going to try and sell Viagra or anything like that. Some people then say, well, what headlines do I write? I have no idea what to write a headline. I'm not So it's a really old piece of software, but if you type in into Google kick-ass headline generator, it gives you all sorts of ways. It asks you for a bunch of questions at the start, and then if you click on these, I am a big fan of how-tos. We're going to change the titles of all the new workshops to more being how-tos, because that seems to be still very popular, and all the searches on YouTube tend to be around how do I do something. We live in the YouTube generation, and I've used YouTube quite a few times now to sort problems, to get an understanding of things, and sort of one of the latest campaign, a couple of clients now, we're looking at how to produce cheap, low cost how-to videos for clients. So that if you go into AO.com, for example, and look for things, and you click on the product, generally there's a video with it as to what it looks like. So it's becoming more and more part of mainstream doing videos. So there's also ActiveCampaign, which is obviously one of the things we use. That will also help generate subject lines as well. So some of the things that you need to put on the button, beware of the obvious ones. What you're trying to do is create a frictionless process for them so they read it and go, right, okay. So the ones that approachable call to actions are like get started, find, subscribe, join. You're asking, they're really clear on what they want to do. It's just, if it's click here, well, why am I clicking here? What's in it for me? Everything you do has to answer that question, what's in it for me? So if they're reading it and going, and you want them to get started, great. That's what they'll do, or find or subscribe or whatever. And sometimes it's subscribe to the latest news, join free for a month, get my free ebooks, which is even more, it's got the benefits sort of then written into it. This came from HubSpot. HubSpot HubSpot are becoming, they've now got their act together on CRMs. We've not done a CRM in this process, but we will be covering CRM in future webinars, future workshops, and the latest HubSpot CRM, which is free. We're using the free one at the moment. I've got a meeting with HubSpot later on today to look at the paid for version. But it's incredible what it can do. So we talked about how quickly it all happens. So here you can see within the first few hours, everything, all the action's been done. So it used to be when you posted out a mail shot, it's 2 weeks before you could say reasonably whether you're going to get the most out of that. You'll know within 24 hours with an email shot, and probably within less than that time. First sort of 4 or 5 hours, and you'll know how effective it's been. It will tell you what people have clicked on and where they've clicked on and so forth. So when you're trying to understand how well your email's done, then you should be able to go into pretty much any mail system these days, and it will give you what's called a heat map and a heat map is just basically saying, where is it that people click? You can do heat maps for websites as well. That's more technical. This should be out of the box. You can look at what's working and what's not working. This is out of Popcorn. I love what Simon's done here. We know the owner, and whereas in other systems you can kind of go look at number of times I've opened things and so forth, and the more sophisticated systems do it. Popcorn's quite cheap, but here you can see from a mail shot we've had 47, a reasonable number of warm, some a bit cooler, and so forth. And so you can click on those, and then what you can then do is maybe ring them up or give them a personal email, or you can sort of maybe look at them on LinkedIn. We're currently playing around with a system called Candy, which will again another workshop in the future, where we actually know who's been on the site, or the system takes a best guess of who's been on the site. So then we can look at them and then email people and say, oh, would you like a one-to-one or whatever, and you can do the same. So best time to send is some of the questions we get asked. So it's all about your audience. What is it? And again, back to this buyer persona. Do we have a really clear understanding of what our customers, or the people emailing, want? What's their likely daily routine? So from MailerLite, they reckon weekdays for higher open rates and click rates. Weekends, if you want their, I wouldn't say undivided attention. Most people with families, etc., have got plenty of things going on. But we do notice with the business world that for the first few hours on Saturday and Sunday, the business world tends to try and catch up. So Sunday morning, sending an email shot on Sunday morning at 9 o'clock to CEOs and MDs and so business owners is actually probably becoming quite productive. But it's the quality of the content that's important. And so don't sweat the timing too much. It is about the quality, but I wouldn't suggest Monday morning is a great time to send a mail shot out. So there's a lot of stuff you have to do to avoid ending up in junk. The system's not perfect. So use a recognizable sender name, use a reliable system, say like MailChimp, ActiveCampaign, Sendinblue, etc. Always, always, always test your emails and send them to somebody else to read, not you. You can't, it's very difficult to proofread your own writing. Keep those email lists clean. Anything that's it's called hard bounces, where it can't actually deliver it to anything. Generally the systems now clean themselves up, so that if it's hard bounced, it won't send it again. please respect unsubscribers. If someone's unsubscribed, don't try and put them into another system to subscribe again, which I've seen. Take care of the subject lines. These are super important. That's sometimes the only thing that they'll see to get for them to read. And I've seen people send out mail shots with capital letters. Please don't do that. Stay away from trigger words like free in the subject line and things. We use the word complimentary, which seems to be okay. Don't make false promises. As you've got to think, you'll be meeting these people, and you may be meeting these people in person. So don't make promises that you can't keep to. You make sure you look after the words, make sure it flows, make sure you follow the ADA. Don't embed forms. Do not include attachments. You all will know this, but you should never open an attachment. Attachment either, from somebody you don't know, certainly, and if somebody you do know, but it's been sent a bit strange or a bit weirdly, don't open those. That means because it's highly likely their account's been hacked. So if you're not expecting an attachment from even somebody you know, drop them a WhatsApp, a Slack message, or whatever, a text to say, "Hey, you just sent me attachment." So definitely don't use it in your email. Respect, depending on who you're selling to. Obviously, if it's nursery software for nursery owners, then you might use brighter colours and so forth. But try and keep think about the reader. What will they respond to? Make sure if you have got images they display correctly. Make sure you use a spelling and grammar. There's a thing called Grammarly, which is a fantastic tool. There's a free version of it, which you can use to check it and get somebody to proofread it. And do make it easy to subscribe. You do not want people who, you want people who are going to open and read your stuff. And as long as your unsubscribes are below 1%, because you produce quality output and so forth, it has meaning, then, you shouldn't get too many unsubscribes. If you get more than 1% unsubscribe rates, generally you're going to have the email system company will be emailing you for asking you why your open rates are so low. So building an email list, you can buy a list for B2B still. Contact details through a form, landing page, lead magnet on your website, and customers who have opted in to your marketing. A lot harder for consumers, so discount coupons or discounts on your online site in exchange for an email, and then you've obviously got people who are customers who have opted into your email. So you always ask on the checkout on an e-commerce site, can we email to you? It's got to be, you can't just have it pre-ticked like you used to be able to do. They've got to actually physically tick it. But if your stuff's good enough, people will do. I mean, I do subscribe to newsletters. I want to be kept up to date for my favourite things. Competitions can be good to get emails, and I would strongly recommend that that you use the email system to record, because as part of GDPR, you have to record that they've given you permission. So better to do it through a system, and then the system can keep on top of it. Just realised that top one will need to be removed. They're not doing it anymore. So there's Merry Hill, Corp Data, Marketing File are the ones we're currently using for purchasing data. Ignore Spark data. Okay, so you need to email. So you've got to think of the playbook. What you're going to do. So research what they need to know about. Write an article about it. Build a database. Choose a system, and then write your first email newsletter. And then choose a suitable time and date for your audience. And then check the stats and follow up on if anybody opens more than 2 and 3, and you're selling B2B, those are probably quite hot targets for you. So then that's where you'd put them into your CRM, and then you'd maybe give them a call, or like a personal email and so forth. You could consider resending to unopened. The open rates will fall when you do this because they didn't open it the first time, so they may open it a second time. But you've got to be careful you don't damage your reputation with sending out email shots with low open rates. So it's a bit sort of, my view these days is maybe to think about, sort of having a look at the wording and doing a completely new email rather than just sending it to unopened. So to some techniques, we talked about videos, learning quizzes. We did play around with a thing called lead quizzes. They said it had been recommended by Neil Patel, but we struggled to get that to work. Discount coupons do work. Problem solving, ebooks and so forth. Okay, so we talked about landing pages. So you can use social media to drive to traffic. Ideally, the landing page needs to be on your website. This is a slightly older style one where it's when we're all signing up to GDPR type information, but you could have a video in here. You need a compliant sign up form. If you're offering something like free, like an ebook, they still need to be able to get the ebook even if they've not agreed to your marketing. And then you use Google or Facebook ads to drive to the page if it's a particular campaign, or you can use email marketing to drive to the page. So this is a landing page on our website for the first ebook that we wrote, and it's got lots of information in it to encourage people to sign up. But now we've got this might disappear. This will disappear when we because we've now got the book, and once we've got the physical book, we'll probably change this to a landing page for buying the book. Because 15 quid. This was about 15,000 words. The new book, 60,000 words. We really substantially ramped it up. Eventbrite can be a really useful tool. So I'm going to a curry night up in Blackburn with the guys up there. And so first of all, Vipin has talked to everybody, said, "How do you fancy this?" But then he's then sent an email out saying, "Hey, let's get this, and he's sold. You can sometimes, if you've got something that's high value, you can charge for it. So I think we were talking to William about whether you could do workshops and stuff. Well, you could use Eventbrite and then charge a ticket, and then they would then get the email from that. So that can be quite another way of especially if it's high value, highly educational. We do these free, these workshops free because we want to get to a bigger audience as possible. We have done these as paid in the past, and this is where we did them as a paid workshop, and that we use a thing called TickZoom to do that, which then collected the tickets and the money. TickZoom is very good for selling Zoom type presentations. My preferred, but the Eventbrite is better, I think, for physical type of events, where you're meeting in person. So there's a couple of ways you can do that. This has been through many changes, but we do have a free online course, and so you can drive it through free online learning. This is on the Teachable platform. Again, if you're doing emails out and you don't want people ringing up, "Oh, can we have a meeting, etc.?" and you're going to play email ping pong, just use Calendly. Say, "Hey, just click on my Calendly." And that's being used more and more. I think as people get used to it, they'll go, "Right, okay, yeah, let's do that. That's good." Not enough time to really go through much detail about email automation, but this is an active campaign. If somebody does something, send an email out. Are there any alternatives to Calendly? There are. I've seen one or two out there. I think if you type into Google Calendly competitors, all the sort of top ones will come out. We like Calendly, it works, but there are one or two others that are in regular use. Yeah, so I would only advise doing email automation when you know that those people are interested in what you want. I wouldn't use. I managed to break our email system by sending cold emails through it, through the automated system. Better to have people who are actually have shown an interest in your product, because you have to keep your open rates high. So this is sort of typical, sort of in summary in active campaign, number of open rates. On this one we had 25%, 1% click through, nobody forwarded, and we had less than 1% unsubscribed. So that's from a newsletter that we send out each month to our kind of regular customers. This is a measurement in Sendable, same sort of thing. So we've got nearly 5,000 contacts, 1,200 opened, and so the rates are a bit lower here. But those are pretty typical of what we see on customers' email systems, unless it's like a reminder for an event, and then those numbers go through the roof. So bringing it together, think about the customer. Really must think about the customer. Write educational articles, case studies, how you solve people's problems can be great as well. We do a mail shop for one client where it's quite techy, so we sort of describe the service on one side, and we have a case study of how it's fixed somebody's problems, so they can link the two together. What free resources can you develop if you're got an e-commerce shop, then discount codes generally are the route to do that. And then looking for MailChimp or something more sophisticated. Always start simple and learn. And so we start in pilot batches rather than sort of just going for it. And then just think about how you're going to get your data and then what you're going to measure. Okay. So I'm just going to stop the share. Okay. So if anybody wants to switch their video on, that'd be great. And William, since your video's on and is there anything and you're planning to use it, what questions have you got? What actions are you going to take away, so?
Yeah, thanks for that, Peter. I think in any kind of email campaign for B2B that we do, the data obviously is very, very important. And I mean, in the past, in other guises and things, I've been going to the internet and sort of trawling the internet for businesses in certain areas. Would you sort of frown on that as opposed to actually buying data from a reputable company?
Well, your most effective route is LinkedIn, to be honest, and then that conversation with them, and then asking for their email address, or if you click on their contact information, sometimes their work email. You've got to be aware on LinkedIn. I'd say about 30%, because we sometimes export emails out of LinkedIn. About 30% are personal emails which you can't use, but then about 30% are blank, and then you've got 30% where they don't wish to share their email, and then about 30% are work emails. But hopefully, if you're in a conversation with them, you can get them. If you're just trawling the internet for companies, then you're not really going to be talking to the right people. And the email addresses are generally going to be growth@admin@, hello, info, sales@, and the MailChimp system, the email marketing systems will reject those straight out. You won't be able to import those.
Okay, thanks. Also for GDPR, I mean, the companies that actually acquire this data have to be GDPR compliant as well.
Yeah.
Once you get that data from a company, can you assume then that you have your permission to send an email to that company.
Only if it's a work email.
Yeah, if it's work related.
Yeah. Doing it on, you don't have consent. You're using what's called legitimate interest. So you believe what you're going to send them is of legitimate interest to them.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, based on what.
That's how you process it. You're not, when you buy data, you're not doing it for consent.
I see. Yeah, I've subscribed to Mailchimp. I've not used it before, but I'm going to do that. But another thing is that I still haven't got a CRM, and I'm thinking I think it was either Hootsuite or is it Buffer, the one that you.
For scheduling social media.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. No, a CRM to actually handle emailing campaign.
Follow
up.
I would look at HubSpot CRM because it is free and it's super comprehensive. So it's really interesting. Since Christmas, we were fairly, weren't really paying CRMs. I mean, I've written CRMs, I've managed CRM projects, developed CRMs, I've used to sell CRMs and so forth, but the last few years has not been a high priority. We've been using Monday.com just to keep a list of who we're currently working with, but because the number of people we're working with has greatly expanded, we've gone down the HubSpot CRM route. It's free. There is a paid for version, which is not cheap, but it's not hugely expensive. But you can do so much in the free version that you've really got to be pushing it to then want the paid for version. It's more, I'd imagine we would need the paid for version soon. That should link. We haven't done it. It should link to Mailchimp so that you send out. But HubSpot's got its own stuff as well, which we need to. Our project this next quarter is to find out how much emailing we can do from HubSpot itself. And what those sorts of costs are. I've got a conversation later on with HubSpot to work on that, because it's interesting. We've got about 4 clients all gone down the HubSpot route. We've integrated HubSpot CRM with the website, so any form people fill in form goes straight. We grab their email and go straight into HubSpot. Their chat is also part of it, which is also free, which again goes into the CRM system. So it's quite exciting, really, what we're going to be able to do.
Okay, thank you.
Ella, you switched your video on. What actions are you going to take away?
Well, it's really interesting about the HubSpot. I've had HubSpot for 2 years and I still can't get the damn thing to work. It's just like, I tried doing it to send out emails just to my clients, and everywhere you turn, it's like, you have to pay for this, you have to pay for that, you have to pay for something else. I've linked it to my Outlook, so it has every email client, every email that I get goes into HubSpot, including all the spam. So it then says, you've got a maximum of 200 messages this month, and of that you've got 640, and of that 640, probably at least half of them are spam. And it's but it was interesting because I've got MailChimp because I want to do the thing with the website that you were saying on a previous thing with the website thing. I've done a ton of work on my website the last couple of months. It's completely different. But so I've got MailChimp, so I could link that to the websitey thing. But does this mean that I don't need MailChimp if I've already got HubSpot, which I can't use because I don't.
Yeah, so game of sort of giving you loads, but giving you enough rope to hang yourself with. So what I'd be tempted to do, because of this problem with junk mail and so forth, is I would extract the emails out of HubSpot and your Outlook put them, if you put them into a spread, what we do is put them into a spreadsheet. It's incredibly fast how quickly you can delete out. And if you sort it by, no, that's not going to work. If you, just stick it into a spreadsheet, it only takes about half an hour even to clear up a spreadsheet of about 1,000 emails. And just go through it, just clean it all up, make sure you recognize the emails, or they look sensible. They're not XYZ at gmail.com or Yahoo or BT Internet or whatever. You can delete all those. You can forget them because you don't have permission to, you don't have that consent. Well, yours is a business to business, because I think, isn't it?
Mm.
So you just want work emails in there. So anything that's a home address, you can delete out. And then if they've got what look like sensible company names, company emails, not hello at or admin or
But HubSpot just imports everything.
yeah.
So is there a way to control what HubSpot pulls out of Outlook, or no?
Ask me that in about a month or two's time. Because we will be doing a workshop on HubSpot. I just need to acquaint myself with what's sensible. We've already connected HubSpot up to chat onto people's WordPress, and that was a 5-minute job. So that works well, and that's on the free version. And I just need to push what we can achieve mailing out from the HubSpot. But we will be.
So to connect the HubSpot to the website thing, you use a chat thing.
Yeah, so you know the chat. If you go to most websites now, they have like a little button sort of about there, don't they?
Yeah. Oh no! Oh, it's 12 o'clock and I've got a client. I'm so sorry. I'm going to have to go.
Well, next time. Save the questions for next week then.
Okay, thank you. Thanks. Bye. Hello.
Oops, just mute that. I don't want to have this conversation there. Right. Okay. So thanks for that, guys. We'll bring it to a close now. The next one is measurement of your activity on digital marketing. It is super important. We had a client. We've got a client at the moment where the developer had set the Google Analytics up, and then the client or whatever, they fell out or moved or whatever. And then I asked the client to go back to the company and say, could he transfer the data over? And the guy just deleted the account. And so we've lost all historic data for that account. It's not a disaster. We've already set him up with a new one and so forth, but we've now got to wait a few months now for that data to reappear again. So it's really important, and it's really important to measure what's working, what's not working, because otherwise, this is why people throw bits of money at everything and hoping something will stick, but then they don't measure it. So better to have little projects. Right, I'm going to do a campaign on this, measure it, see if that works, and then so on. And then slowly you're building on rocks rather than sand. So look forward to seeing you all next week. If you have any subject that you want more help on, so we've already identified HubSpot. CRM is definitely going to be going to have to be built into the program. We've got talks on branding, cyber, quite sophisticated CRMs. Anything you'd like to be interested in, we've got a huge network of people who we can bring in, and so we can talk about subjects that are really important to you. After Easter, they'll go to bi-weekly. So next week is the last one before Easter, and then we're having a break, and then we'll be back again then with a branding event. It's not on the system yet. And then we'll also be taking you through how to use the new app, which will allow you to really think through your strategy and work out what's important to you and so forth. So thanks very much, guys, and see you next week.